Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
In general, the general meaning of economic issues are basically the problems of choice that arises because of the scarcity of resources and the clash between the utility maximization behavior of different parties involved. So when we say different parties involved, we can see here that infrastructures are developed and one side is the developer and another side is the subscribers. When we say the clash between the utility maximization behavior of different parties, it is a clash between the developer of the infrastructure and at the same time the different subscribers, also the partners of developing such infrastructures like the government. Uh, in many PPP cases, public-private partnership cases, it is not only the private parties but also the local bodies or the state government or the central government, which involves the development of the infrastructure in a particular city or in the state. And in that case, the class of utility maximizations do occur, and the developer wants more fast development as well as the recovery of their investment. At the same time, subscribers do try to escape from the payment, and there are chances of free riding. So economic issues arises the moment problem of choice arises, and in that case, it is directly related with the development of the people. So the need for infrastructure is growing every day, and in that case, the developer as well as the subscribers, they have to design, they have to think, they have to act, they have to really plan that what type of uh, bargain between the developers and the subscribers should continue. And if the bargain fails, if the parties are mostly involved uh, in class in their individual objective, then in that case various economic issues are persisting, and that creates other challenges for the infrastructure development. So why these economic issues are important? Because uh, it has the long-term effect on the welfare and well-being. It do affects the larger section of the society, since insufficient use of current resources will further deteriorate their conditions. It decides the standards and conditions of living of the people. Economic issues are really determining the civic and social as well as the political life, and it will hamper the collective decision making process. Uh, it explains the causes of growth of countries and regional disparities, and economic issues do affect the social, political and human rights in a particular economy. So some of the common economic issues faced in majority of the countries today, especially in the infrastructure development projects, are basically the urban bias in infrastructure development, inequality between the rich and poor, the digital divide, the energy security, and the consumerism. So what is basically urban bias in infrastructure development? Uh, we know that infrastructure development is mainly concentrated in urban areas today. Airports, ports, highways, metro rail, telecom, etc. are the part of urban life. And rural areas are really lacking in terms of basic infrastructure facilities. Social infrastructures like hospitals, schools, sanitation, uh, etc. have also an urban bias, and we find that most of the good schools, good hospitals are not in rural area but in urban area. So majority of the local people, rural people, they have to migrate for these facilities from rural area to urban area. And in case of physical infrastructure also, when we see the airport, ports, highways, metros, and other physical facilities developed in urban areas, we find that majority of the people do have to migrate from the local place to the urban place in search of jobs, because we have discussed in detail in our previous lectures that uh, these infrastructure facilities provides an opportunity to have the bigger size of the market. It do provides an opportunity to have more employment generation. It do provides basic facilities in terms of uh, transportation and uh, moving factors of production very fast from one place to other place. So this is one of the major economic issues in infrastructure development, and that is the urban bias. So urban bias in infrastructure development really led to the problem of rural-urban migration, and associated uh, associated with the congestion in provision of services in urban areas. One can see here the slum population as percentage of urban population, and if we can see here the Southern Asia, uh, three different years data, 1990, 2000 and 2010 data, is showing us uh, the recent trend in the slum population as the percentage of urban population. And in Asia, the percentage which was 47.2% slum population as a percentage of urban population, it has reduced to 57 to 45% in 2000, and by 2010 it has reduced from 45% to 35%. In Latin American and Caribbean economy, the percentage has dropped from 33% in 1990 to 29% in 2000, and now it has further dropped to the level of 23%. In Sub-Saharan African region, which is the highest uh, slum population as a percentage of urban population, uh, we had 19 by 1990 we have seen that the percentage of slum population uh, as a part of urban population was 70%, which has reduced to 65%, and now by 2010 it has reduced to 61%. So developing region as a whole, we can see here that in 1990 the percentage of slum population was 46% in the urban population, which has reduced to 39% by 2000, and it has now further reduced to the level of 32% in 2010. So inequality and the rich-poor gap. There is growing consensus that infrastructure development has increased the income inequality in almost all parts of the globe. Both demand for better infrastructure and supply of more and more infrastructure services have increased the recent times. This increased the profitability of the corporate engaged in infrastructure development, and with high growth of economies, the rich-poor gap is widening. So this type of inequality was measured by the Lorenz curve. Here in this graph, we can see that the straight diagonal indicates complete inequality, uh, uh, and from Lorenz curve, Gini coefficient can be calculated as G is equal to A by A plus B. And in the value of Gini coefficient, if the value of Gini coefficient is 1, it shows perfect inequality, while 0 indicates perfect equality. Apart from this income inequality, we do find the new divide which is growing with the growth of infrastructure, and that is the digital divide. So digital divide is the divergence between the people who have access and resources to use information and communication technology and people who do not have the resources and access to these tools. The term also describes the departure between those who have the skills, knowledge, and abilities to use the technologies and those who don't. It also denotes the ability to afford or pay for the digital services. The digital divide can be seen in terms of rural and urban areas, uh, also between the educated and uneducated population, at the same time at the global scale between the developed and less developed nations. Today, the development of communication infrastructure in urban areas, as well as high users charges for internet and complex data packages, have widened the digital divide. This need to extend the basic, there is a need to extend the basic telecom and broadband infrastructure to all. And there is a discussion today on the net neutrality. It is the concept to communicate freely on internet without any discrimination. And information and communication infrastructure is really one of the tools to support other social and economic goals that improves lives of the people. Now we can see that due to the help of infrastructure, especially in communication and information sector, uh, there are employment generated in India. At the same time, there are certain services which India is trying to offer, not only for the population within the country, but also for the population outside the country through the information technology enabled services. And India contributes around 65% of the global ITES, information technology enabled services of the world. But at the same time, within the country, we do find that there is a population which is far away from such facilities, such connectivity from the information and communication infrastructure, and that is one of the bigger challenge for the infrastructure development, particularly in information and communication sector. In terms of internet usage in the world, we have also seen that world is really having 42.4 percentage internet users as per the Internet World Stats 2014, while Africa is only 27.5% population using the internet, Asia 34%, Europe 70%, North America 86%, Latin American and Caribbean economy 52%, and uh, Australia and other Oceania, Oceanian countries are really having 72% as a 72% population for the internet user. So we can find out that in the overall uh, global level, uh, we are not even in the position to provide 50% uh, internet connectivity to the world population today. Like that, we have energy security as one of the major economic issues today in the field of infrastructure development. Uh, Energy security is central for sustainable economic growth and poverty reduction. This is empirically proved by many economists all over the world that the country which has more per capita energy consumption, they are much better in their productivity. They have more manufacturing activities. So despite rising global energy use, many poor people in developing and less developed countries lack access to adequate, affordable and reliable energy supplies. And that is one of the major constraint for the growth, productivity and employment in many underdeveloped economy today. So maintaining energy security is a challenge which ranges from global supply to the household access. The IEA World Energy Outlook 2010 estimated that 1.4 billion people around the world still lack access to electricity, and projected to fall only marginally to 1.2 billion by 2030. And that is one of the major economic issues in infrastructure development, because infrastructure development cannot be sustained without proper energy security, whether it is ports, whether it is uh, uh, airports or railways or uh, or other transportation facility. We need energy security to sustain those infrastructure. 2.7 billion rely on the traditional usage of biomass, uh, 2.7 billion population is still relying on the traditional use of biomass, with a projected increase to 2.8 billion in 2030. So prioritizing access to safe, clean, reliable and affordable energy will have immense social and economic benefits, and this cannot be really uh, avoidable if a country has to really grow faster and faster. At the regional level, we find here that the number of people lacking access to electricity in Africa is 587 million, while in India alone 404 million population is lacking access to electricity. Number of people relying on the traditional usage of biomass for cooking, in case of India it is 855 million population, while in China it is 423 million population, and the entire developing Asia the number is 1937 million population. Uh, so this shows that the developing country as a whole uh, is 2679 million population relying on the traditional usage of biomass, while 1,04,038 million population is still lacking access to the electricity. At the world level, we find that 1,441 million population is lacking access to the electricity, while 2,679 million population is really using the traditional usage of biomass for cooking. So universal energy access is a major challenge for the world today, and subsidies to fuels and renewable resources has consequences. Energy use is distorted by insufficient subsidies. Large differences in regional energy prices affects the industrial competitiveness, investment decisions and corporate strategies. High global energy prices have brought greater international focus on economic impact of energy, supply distortions and high and volatile energy prices. Infrastructure services such as clean water, urban transport, gas pipeline and communications have important consumption benefits, and their availability is measure of the basic welfare of the population. Efficiency and opportunities increase with infrastructure facilities. The development of infrastructure facilities have developed new consumerism in the society, and we find that today's world is completely different from the world which we had 20 years before or 30 years before. Lots of new items such as mobile phones and computers, laptops, personal computers are added in our day-to-day life, and we need more electricity today. We need more better city today, clean and green city today. In some other discussion, we will also find out that how environment is also one of the major issues in infrastructure development. That we will discuss separately, but here we can find out that some of these economic issues which we have discussed today are really important for infrastructure projects, because the need for infrastructure development is not because not because a country has to grow, but the need for infrastructure development is also available, also continuing, because the other countries should also grow, because we are in the interdependent world, and a country's poverty, a country's uh, poor condition is remain uh, hampering the poverty of other, the richness or the prosperity of the other countries, as Ragnar Nakse has also pointed out. So in the sense of consumerism, we cannot really say that the world needs uh, a consumer-free, a consumption-free world. The entire production mechanism, entire globalization process is fully dependent on the consumerism, and the and to sustain that consumerism, to sustain that global integration, sustain that globalization process, we need to have uh, more faster development in infrastructure. So how to tackle those economic issues? Because economic issues are pervasive, thus need to be addressed most urgently. Identifying uh, uh, to identify where government is needed for developing infrastructure and areas where the private sector is better in providing these facilities are important for a country like India and other developing country. So a proper coordination between public sector and private sector, and what type of PPP models are important, that is also one of the economic issues which has to be tackled properly. Infrastructure development must meet the needs of the local people. Uh, we have seen in many projects in many countries that when we are developing infrastructure projects, in some of the projects we have ignored the local people, and that has created again a challenge for the infrastructure development projects in that region. So what are basically the uh, major major conditions of the local people? How local people will be benefited from such infrastructure development? That has to be propagated and that has to be catered through the developers of the infrastructure. Otherwise, local people do feel detached from such infrastructure development projects. So better infrastructure should be provided with proper balance and taking into account the regional disparities, which is the new trend and new thought coming up in the infrastructure development projects, because such thoughts were more visible in some of the developed countries, but developing countries has neglected varieties of local issues. And when the issues are very sensitive in nature, such as the farmers' productivity and the farmers' resettlement, rehabilitation, those issues are important to tackle because ultimately infrastructure development is for the people, and it should not be against the people when it comes for the larger benefit. So some of the issues are tackled through economic impact analysis, cost benefit analysis, cost effectiveness analysis, financial analysis, and fiscal impact analysis. These are broad category of tackling those economic issues, and economists are really trying hard to evaluate the contribution of such infrastructure projects through different methods. One can go and see these analysis in detail, and many developed countries has adopted cost benefit analysis as a tool to find out how infrastructure is really going to benefit the society over time. To sum up, economic issues are directly related to sustainable, efficient, and reliable infrastructure. If the economic issues are not properly addressed, it will lead to low spending on infrastructure, decline in private sector investment, and inefficient provision of infrastructure services for economically backward people. So the gap between urban areas and rural areas will further widen in terms of infrastructure services as well as between urban and rural people. So more we are growth oriented today, we have to be more inclusive in terms of infrastructure development. Thank you very much.